No sooner had Zhao Xiaotao seen off her ex-boyfriend than she arrived at a dim, dilapidated motel. Cheng Tai-sheng lay sprawled on the bed like a heap of wet mud, looking particularly stark and glaring under the harsh light. The moment he saw Xiaotao, his breathing grew instantly heavy and labored. For a long time, he had yearned to break through the paper-thin barrier with Xiaotao, to finally consummate their relationship, in order to prove to himself that he was a king who held absolute dominion over women. Yet, he failed to realize that his territory had long since been secretly staked out by another man. Watching Xiaotao practically deliver herself to him, Tai-sheng roughly tore open her blouse. At that very moment, just as Xiaotao, eyes tightly shut, was preparing to reenact the intimacy she had shared with her ex only moments before, Tai-sheng spotted the telltale marks her ex had left upon her chest. "Are you my girlfriend?" "Yes." "Oh, so you're gonna keep up the act, are you? You've stripped naked now. What the hell are you still pretending for? Still playing the innocent virgin?" "Cheng Tai-sheng, you bastard. You really are a piece of trash. How could you say something like that?" In Cheng Tai-sheng's twisted logic, since he provided shelter and protection for her in the capital city, the only acceptable form of repayment from Xiaotao was absolute fidelity. But deep within Xiaotao's heart lay the Knight of Ulaanbaatar, the memory of that ex-boyfriend who was about to embark on a journey across the ocean. She had left her physical body behind amidst the ersatz architecture of Beijing, yet she had packed her very soul away inside that man's suitcase. Cheng Tai-sheng was the head of security at World Park, spending his days barking orders beneath the park's replica of the Eiffel Tower. He had never traveled to the real world. Instead, he lived trapped within a cage defined by the slogan, "Give me one day, and I'll give you the whole world." By forcing Xiaotao to prove her love, he was in reality forcing the world itself to acknowledge his existence. The moment Xiaotao slammed the door and stormed out, he realized that the very nightmare he had been dreading had finally come true. Zhao Xiaotao's ex-boyfriend was preparing to leave for Ulaanbaatar. Before his departure, the two had rekindled their old flame. The sudden reappearance of this man unsettled Xiaotao, a narrative device characteristic of Jia Zhangke, whose camera lens invariably captures the struggles of those living on the margins of society. This particular film marked one of the rare instances in his oeuvre where he allowed his own wife to appear on screen in such a sexually explicit manner. After sharing a night of passion, the couple prepared to part ways forever once they had finished their farewell meal. Unexpectedly, Cheng Tai-sheng arrived, an uninvited guest. "This is my boyfriend, Cheng Tai-sheng. He's from our hometown, Taiying too. Liangzi, is that you? Hello. I've heard Xiaotao talk about you often. What line of work are you in?" "Construction. I'm the foreman." "The Golden Gate Project? At Kingmanview? Impressive. When are you leaving?" For people at the bottom rung of society, going abroad meant the chance to make big money. At the dinner table, the three of them forced smiles, the atmosphere thick with tension, determined not to be outdone by the man sitting across from him, and willing to puff himself up to save face. Cheng Tai-sheng insisted on driving Liangzi to the station in his van. They say rivals in love are bound to clash, yet Tai-sheng acted with surprising generosity, bustling about to buy Liangzi something to eat. His sole objective was to test Xiaotao, to see how she would react. But Xiaotao, having spent her life scraping by in a world dominated by men, wasn't about to let him catch her in a compromising position. She simply left the two grown men standing there alone. They stood facing each other, unable to utter a single word. Liangzi, too, had seen through Tai-sheng's ploy and felt deeply uncomfortable. Without waiting for Xiaotao to return, he turned on his heel and walked away. To assert his dominance, Cheng Tai-sheng forcibly dragged Xiaotao back to a motel. There, he subjected her to a thorough physical inspection, demanding that she give him an explanation. And thus, the scene depicted at the very beginning of the story unfolded. The World Park, a microcosm encapsulating all the arrogance and prejudice of human civilization. It has everything except genuine human connection. Every day, Xiaotao dons various traditional costumes, spinning on stage like a marionette on a string. Her life is hemmed in by these plastic, artificial spectacles, leaving her unable to distinguish where Beijing ends and Paris begins. Upon returning to the park, a few tender words from Tai-sheng brought a flicker of warmth to Xiaotao's lonely heart. This captures the essence of the Beijing drifter, the migrant worker struggling to survive in the capital. Such is life at the bottom. Without the backing of wealth, one simply cannot afford the luxury of love. After Liangzi left, Xiaotao would often stand alone at night, gazing toward Ulaanbaatar, hoping against hope that Liangzi would return in triumph to claim her as his bride. Back in their hometown, rumors were circulating that Taishing had become a high-ranking official in the capital, that he was living the high life. One day, some fellow villagers arrived from home, bringing along a young woman known as Second Sister, giving Taishing the perfect opportunity to show off. He led these two country bumpkins, whose rustic innocence had yet to be sullied by the grime and cynicism of the city, on a tour of the park's miniature landmarks, pointing them out with the air of a conqueror surveying his domain, as if every brick and every drop of water were his own private property. That right there is America, Manhattan, our new China. Why? It's got America beat in every way, yet it still wants more. This sense of pride was at once utterly comical and deeply poignant. It mocked the authentic while exalting the counterfeit. Yet, a blunt truth uttered by a fellow villager, like a merciless slap across the face, sent Taishing tumbling straight from the clouds down into the mud. So, now that you're back in Beijing, have you joined a crew yet? Doing any guard dog work? Yeah, I guess. Just holding a crappy ID card. Here, have a smoke. Guard dog work. That was the true essence of their lot. Whether you stood at the gates of the White House or atop the pinnacle of the pyramids, as long as you hadn't shed that uniform, you remained nothing more than a guard dog, a hound keeping watch over the sham civilization. To ease the awkwardness, Taishing sent his young protege, Xiao, off to show Second Sister around, hoping to unearth a flicker of genuine human warmth amidst the illusory glamour of the city. To his surprise, however, the country girl's simple earnestness only made Xiao look even more uncomfortable. When she asked how much he earned in a month, Xiao hemmed and hawed for a good while before finally squeezing a figure through clenched teeth. Me? Just a couple hundred. A couple hundred. 210? 290. She couldn't make out a word, he said. 200 yuan, a sum that couldn't even buy a decent meal in the Beijing night, had become the sole currency of his pride. In this park, everyone was overdrawing their future just to dress up a present that was already riddled with holes. Unable to get over the emotional hurdle of Xiaotao, Taishin began seeking solace in the arms of other women. Through his connections in the fake ID racket, he met Akan, a woman from Wenzhou. Mature yet lonely, Akan was like a morning glory blooming amidst the ruins. She asked for no promises from Taishing. She simply needed a temporary refuge, a place to hide from the harsh realities of her life. Taishing escorted Akan to Taiyuan. In that city thick with the stench of coal smoke, he witnessed the cold, hard cruelty of her world. Akan's younger brother spoke of nothing but money, as if his own sister were not a human being, but merely a walking ATM. They're all just feeding off you here. You've got a way out. Go on, get out of this place. But he's supposed to be coming all the way here. Photos. Just photos. That's all you've got left, just photos. Why do you still cling to them? It's just so bitter, so heartbreaking. I told you to give it to me. Now hurry up and go. I've found you a place to stay. This scene gave Taishing a strange, inexplicable sense of satisfaction. It turned out he wasn't the only one living a dog's life. He turned back and embraced the weeping Akan. In that unfamiliar hotel room, two lonely souls committed an act of betrayal against their respective partners. Akan showed him the photos her husband had sent back from France. Images of a distant shore he had never reached and never would. He's actually quite cute. Laughter, that softened, was Akan's mocking retort to fate. Her man was illegally sneaking into the real Paris, while she was having a clandestine affair right outside Beijing's fake World Park. That is life. You think you've broken free from the cycle, but in reality, you've merely shifted positions to continue being trampled upon. Inside the park, Xiaotao met Anna, a Russian dancer. Two women, one seeking to escape the barren poverty of her mountain village, the other fleeing the desolate emptiness of a foreign land, found their paths converging in this artificial world. Anna told Xiaotao she was heading to a nightclub because the money was quick there, enough to fund her trip to Ulaanbaatar to find her sister. Xiaotao was tempted. She, too, longed for a different way of life. Guided by her new friend, she stepped into that bar, a place gilded with glitz and glamour, where she encountered wealthy businessmen spouting empty boasts and con artists promising to whisk her away to Hong Kong to show her the world. There's a jewelry exhibition in Hong Kong next week. The top-tier event is actually being hosted by me. What do you say? I'll take you along for fun. What would I do there? Oh, don't be silly. Jewelry, perfume. These are exactly the things you ladies need. Just look at you. With a little bit of styling, you'd absolutely shine. Let me handle the arrangements for you. You can quit the dance troupe right away and come join me. How does that sound? Oh, please stop joking around. I'm serious. Truly, absolutely serious. Listen to me, just listen. The main thing is, the moment I saw you, I felt this incredible sense of familiarity. Really, it felt like I had met you somewhere before. And where was that? In my dreams. That line is a bit too cliche, isn't it? Well, I'm just a simple, honest guy. I'm not very good at coming up with anything original, you know? Tell you what, hey, let's just the two of us go out for a stroll. Come on. Through his camera lens, Jia Zhangke precisely captures the psychology of those living on the margins of society. Fortunately, Xiao Dao did not take the bait. She didn't go, which meant he hadn't completely lost his soul just yet. But in the restroom, he saw Anna. The heavy makeup she wore now could no longer mask the last traces of her girlish innocence. It was painfully obvious that she had lost her virginity in the arms of a client. In the instant the two women locked eyes, words became superfluous. The suffering of the underclass knows no national boundaries. It recognizes only your callous feet and your heart, growing numb little by little. After a night of sacrifice, Anna had realized her dream. At this very moment, she was aboard a plane, speeding toward the city she had long yearned to reach. Xiao Tao, too, had made her compromise. She decided to let go of her ex, Liangzi, and instead seek out a reliable man to lean on. Jia Zhangke loves to dig deep into these dark corners of society. If you ever lie to me, I'll chop you into pieces. Then I'll just wrap you up in layers of meat filling, make you into a dumpling. That's the only trick I've got up my sleeve. If you lie to me, I'll be left with absolutely nothing. Xiao Tao had assumed that once Jin Taixing had her, he would offer her some kind of security. Instead, the words that followed struck her as chillingly cold. Don't put your faith in anyone, either. In these times, these past 3 years, nobody's reliable. Not even me. You can only rely on yourself. The words were a gut punch, yet they spoke the absolute truth about life at the bottom rung of society. Just like the little people in this park, everyone has their own private agenda. Xiao Er had a crush on the girl who used to come to him for hot water, but having no money to buy her a gift, he secretly swiped a banknote while tidying up the dressing room for his colleagues. It was a petty crime. So petty, in fact, that it evoked sympathy rather than outrage. He wasn't looking to get rich. He simply wanted to offer a little warmth to the girl he loved. Yet, just as he thought he might finally find love, the police came and took him away, taking with them those hands that had barely had the chance to feel the warmth they sought. Meanwhile, that male colleague, the one who had once been willing to set himself on fire for the sake of love, was now busy planning his wedding with Xiao Wei. Watching them, Xiao Tao felt a profound sense of the absurd. One was consumed by suspicion, the other by a masochistic tolerance for abuse. Eventually, the girl could no longer bear the boy's constant suspicion. She decided to simply lay it all out in the open, boldly and honestly. Where are you going? Lao Nyo, do you really think this is fun? If you can't trust me, why don't we just call it quits? How about that? Fine, we can do that. But first, tell me, where the hell did you go? Who the hell do you think you are? Do I have some kind of obligation to tell you everything? Where did you go? Can you even handle the truth, you bastard? Do you really want to know? Tell me? Fine, I'll tell you. I went out with my ex-boyfriend. So what happens next? We talk. And then we eat. And after that, it's exactly what you're imagining. Think whatever you like. You've seen it for yourself, old ox. From this moment on, there is no next for the two of us. This exchange serves as a stark portrait of love among the working poor, a dynamic defined by mutual hurt, deep mistrust, yet an inescapable mutual dependence. They are like two weeds growing in a ditch. Aside from intertwining tightly, they have no other choice. Early the next morning, Taixing slipped away without a word. When Xiao Dao woke up and tried calling him, there was no answer. She did not yet know that Taixing, who had only just left her side, was at that very moment ensconced in another woman's embrace, savoring the tenderness he had failed to find with her. Just as Taixing was losing himself in the soft comforts of his time with the Kun, the bad news arrived. Ernyang, second sister, had been crushed beneath a snapped steel cable while working overtime at a construction site. What happened? She'd just started her shift that day. She was eating breakfast, sitting with a chair propped against her legs. Really? Then a steel bar shifted and pinned her foot. She was on a night shift. Who was supervising? Whoever pays the most. They want people willing to risk their lives, apparently. She's just a slip of a girl. She can barely move anything heavy. But you're a big, strapping guy. How the hell did you let this happen? It wasn't my section to supervise. You're a grown man in his 30s. You should have known better. For the sake of a meager overtime bonus, Eun-young lost her life, buried within the concrete pillars of Beijing. Taisheng rushed to the hospital, only to be confronted by a stack of cold, impersonal medical bills. Before she died, Eun-young, with trembling hands, scrawled her final words on a scrap of cigarette packaging. They were not some grand, heart-rending declaration of love or loss. Instead, they were a clear, precise IOU. She remembered exactly who she owed money to, and she made sure to record exactly who the money must be repaid to. This stubborn insistence, this refusal to take advantage of anyone, even in the face of death itself, is the most heartbreaking glimmer of humanity found in the films of Jia Zhangke. The true dignity of the poor lies not in how much money they possess, but in whether, at the moment of their death, they still owe a debt of gratitude or money to anyone else. This particular storyline is not fiction. It is based on Jia Zhangke's own personal experience. 30,000 yuan, the price of a human life. Eun-young's parents unbuttoned their padded winter coats and carefully tucked that stack of blood-stained banknotes inside. In that moment, standing aside and watching these figures emerge in the mountains, Taisheng suddenly realized that for all his half-lifetime of struggle, his worth ultimately amounted to nothing more than the weight of those 30,000 yuan. The camera's focus shifted back to Xiaotao. At this very moment, the power dynamics within the park were quietly undergoing a transformation. Lu Yuyu, the dancer who had always seemed the most inconspicuous, had somehow managed to climb into the manager's car. The very next day, he became a supervisor. To cover up the sordid history of his ascent, Lu Yuyu began to suppress those who knew the truth. He ordered Xiaotao to play the role of a black person, smearing that face, the very face Taisheng had once been so captivated by, until it was pitch black. Yao Yao, congratulations on becoming the head supervisor. So, do you think my face looks black? I can't help it, it's my job. Then you better do your job well. Right. Just make sure you don't get all racist on me. You actually have that kind of social awareness? Xiaotao offered no resistance. Suddenly, he felt that this smeared, blackened face was his true self. In this world, as long as you haven't clawed your way to the top, you remain nothing more than a tool, something to be smeared over, something to be toyed with for others' amusement. A-kun finally left. She was heading to the real Paris to find her husband. Taisheng saw her off, yet he could not see off the desolation within his own heart. He found Xiaotao in Xiao Wei's new apartment, and there, in that room thick with the smell of gas, the two men sat in silence. Living in someone else's home, it's a form of punishment. You rub against the walls just once, and you're left with red marks. This was Taisheng's final act of self-mockery. They lay there in that cramped space, allowing the gas to slowly invade their lungs. In that moment, perhaps they truly wished to die, for the burden of living had become too heavy. In a world where fakes abound at every turn, the cost of remaining true to oneself is simply too high. The gas leak was discovered. Neighbors began shouting, and an ambulance came speeding toward the scene. Taisheng and Xiaotao were laid out flat on the concrete ground, two castaways abandoned by the times. No one knew whether they lived or died. Jia Zhangke merely used their voices to articulate that single phrase, at once the most cruel and the most resilient of truths. Asterisk has only just begun. The suffering has only just begun. The betrayals have only just begun. And this fucked up life? It too has only just begun. Asterisk in this world park. Everyone is a dancer and everyone is a security guard. We scroll through social media, pretending to live the glamorous lives of others. Yet in reality, we are all merely ordinary people sitting in a gas chamber, waiting for the next dawn. Do not pity them. Look at ourselves instead. In this illusory world woven by big data, who among us dares to claim that they do not bear upon their chest that indelible stain named desire?